It's hard when you go to see a film and you don't know what it's going to be like, and after you watch it you wish you were able to watch it again for the first time with a different group of people. That was my experience with Poor Things. It was such a fun film, and to get to experience it for the first time with different people would make the experience so much more whole. It is a 2023 sci-fi black comedy film that was directed by Yorgos Lanthimos, starring Emma Stone, Willem, Dafoe and Mark Ruffalo. The film is based on a 1992 novel of the same name by Alasdair Gray, which is kind of insane when you think of the themes that were devised in the story and the way that it kind of evolves, to realise that that was kind of written 32 years ago. Yeah, very interesting. And the story focuses on Bella Baxter, who's a young woman in Victorian Era England, whom after a suicide attempt finds herself effectively reanimated in a different form than before, leading to her embarking on a journey of self-discovery and in an attempt to learn what life really is about and why we are here. After premiering at the Venice International Film Festival, it did receive its wider release in January 2024 and December 2023 in some countries. The film has received critical acclaim from various critics and is in multiple top 10 lists for the year. And Emma Stone has received a Golden Globe for her work, and she is my current favourite for the Oscar. I appreciate Lily Gladstone is some people's favourite, but to me I have to give it to Emma here. Following that statement, the only real thing to move on to immediately is to talk about the acting, and I'm going to talk about Dafoe and Ruffalo first. It's so evident in this film that Dafoe and Ruffalo just had so much fun in terms of the acting and their characters and everything that kind of came with it, that the wacky nature of the film just gave them the opportunity to be fun and kind of do things a little bit outside the box. Like, you have Dafoe, who effectively is playing a mad scientist who doesn't understand that he's a mad scientist because of the way that he grew up. He thinks a lot of stuff that he does is only natural and just inquisitive for the scientific brain, and the way in which he discovers things is, in his head, okay. I mean, like, who takes the brain of a baby and puts it into the mother just to try and figure out if the brain will develop differently because it's already in a body that can do all of the things that it doesn't have to grow into. Like, that's, and we initially might think that he's kind of evil with regard to what he's done, but it's as we get more and more backstory, things just start to make more sense in that regard. And he kind of does have a turnabout in the film where he comes to view Bella as a daughter, which obviously means he's a father, and the way that we start to feel for his character makes sense because we were never truly against them in the beginning, which kind of just a testament to the way that the film is done and the way that Dafoe acted his character throughout, that we never hated him for what he did. We just maybe misunderstood. And Mark Ruffalo kind of plays a bit of an abhorrent human being in this film. His character effectively pursues Stone's Bella while she's still a child in terms of mentality and infancy, believing himself to be intelligent and above relationships and someone who's just going to toss her aside, but he thinks it's okay because he told her all that up front when she didn't have the mental capacity to understand what was even being said to her. And really, he just wants to partake in furious jumping. Best euphemism I've ever heard, just putting out there. Furious jumping, brilliant. 10 out of 10. Great work. And he's no feelings either way towards her. That kind of just starts to change as Bella starts to change, as we end up in a situation where with her beginning to develop, adjust and change, Ruffalo's character just starts to care for her more and more and more and starts to pine after her, and that all just kind of allows Ruffalo to partake in what can only be described as the king of physical comedy in this film. Be it the way that he has to dance, move, his quick looks, the adjustments to his features, the way he just pines after her, sometimes his quick monologuing regarding the demon that was sent by Godwin Baxter and that inflicted upon his life to ruin him was just brilliant. And considering the way in which we know Ruffalo in other films, and this I kind of struggled to see who else could have pulled off kind of the douchey, arrogant, lonesome soul looking for something that they said they never wanted, and I appreciate it way too much. But naturally the star of this film has to be Stone. Like, the way that she has to evolve throughout the film, because considering when we meet her, she looks like an adult. We find out she has the mind of a baby, so the way that she's acting makes sense, as in struggling to enunciate and partake in traditional conversations, being able to move properly, and getting used to this new body that they find themselves in. We end up in a situation that the film evolves, and we evolve kind of with her. We see her suddenly be able to speak in full sentences, move properly as like a human adult would. But it's not that simple. We have the switch from stunted speech to quick sentences to dialect adjustments to fluency, and when we meet her, the struggle to walk, then when she initially goes on holidays walking like a doll, to then eventually just being able to move like you would want to. And the way that that is acted is so good and well put across and put together. But again, similar to the way that there are scenes that you remember for Ruffalo and Dafoe's character, what I'll always remember for Bella is her attempt to dance. Because one of my favourite films ever is La La Land, which also starred Emma Stone. So seeing Bella's character dance, and in my mind's eye have clips playing of Mia dancing, was just so funny to me. To have like Mia dancing on one side and then Bella dancing on the other was just peak comedy for me. And I have to wonder, because I haven't read the book, if that's in the book, fair enough, but a small part of me just wants to believe that Yorgos threw that in because he just thought it'd be funny for people to be able to have the comparison like I did. Considering the plot of this film and the way that the story is told, there could be numerous themes, but the ones that kind of come to my head are losing one's innocence and becoming liberated in life. And throughout our existence there are points in time where we make decisions or things happen to us and we have to let them go, move on, and effectively liberate from what we have previously done or thought. Whether that means we've made mistakes, or if we just accept that maybe life won't be the way that we thought it, so we lose some of the innocence that we had in that regard. Some shots for the film are taken using a fisheye lens, which I think was used to symbolise the focus that we can have as a child that is kind of singular, and as we get older we are able to use more perspective and just become more aware of everything that's going on around us. By being able to have multiple ideas in our heads, we're able to understand that life is no longer simplistic and is much more broad in terms of scope, depth, breadth, all of those kinds of things. And we see Bella discover everything around her for the first time in this new brain of hers, and the way that she reacts to them is so wondrous that it makes you appreciate in our existence how many times we might see something for the first time or the third time, or even the 20th, 30th time, and we just accept it to be what it is. At the end of the day, like, this is obviously being filmed on a camera, like, how does that exist? How is this done? Like, we don't appreciate things half as much as we probably should. And she's just chasing the adventure of a lifetime without thinking about the consequences that kind of comes with it. It's like she just left. She spent all of her existence in a home. I'd met maybe 4 or 5 people, if even that many, and just moved with a lawyer to Portugal to just experience life and see what that was like, and ended up on a boat, and then ended up in Paris and just kept moving around here, there and everywhere across Europe. She was less concerned about what would happen to her and what her actions would mean for others, and instead had a focus on all she knew, which was scientific analysis, trial and error, test and find out. And she eventually came around full circle to figuring out what she might be best suited to in life, and in this instance ended up right back where she started. But if she'd stayed there and never travelled, would she have wanted to stay where she was, or was the travelling what allowed her to understand that perhaps where she started was always where she was meant to be? This film, if nothing else, does show that you can move past things that have happened and figure out how to begin anew. I appreciate that there are a lot of people, just an aside now, when it comes to like the Oscars, that are going to be rooting for Gladstone, which is fine. But I think there are some people who feel that perhaps Emma shouldn't have won for La La Land, but like for this feature, like 100% easy win in my mind. After watching both films, I'll come to Killers of the Flower Moon, or you can probably watch it, it'll be linked somewhere. I think that it was just, this film hinged on the way that Emma portrays Bella, and to me it was just amazing.